Los Angeles. A city bathed in lights, where the streets sparkle with the promise of fame, and every corner whispers stories of fortune and heartbreak. It was in this city that David Carrington, a filmmaker whose name had become synonymous with cinematic brilliance, lived among the elite. Oscars lined his shelves. Red carpets welcomed him like royalty. Critics adored him. Fans loved him. Hollywood, for all its glitter, knew him as a genius. Yet, behind the flashing cameras and the applause, there was a subtle darkness, one that very few noticed. On a crisp November evening, David attended the annual gala at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, an event where stars mingled, whispered deals were made, and the city's elite flaunted both their wealth and influence. To most, David's appearance was flawless. His tailored suit, confident stride, and warm smile lit up the room. But there were small signs. Small enough for most to dismiss, yet impossible to ignore for the few paying attention. A hand that trembled as he raised a glass of champagne. Eyes that darted nervously when asked about his latest project. A forced laugh at a joke that didn't land. And whispers among photographers, he doesn't seem himself tonight. By the next morning, he had cancelled several interviews, skipped his weekly studio meeting, and even avoided a scheduled appearance for a charity fundraiser. Rumors spread fast. Was he stressed? Ill? Or was there something darker brewing behind the smiles? Before we uncover the shocking truth of what happened next, hit that subscribe button, help us grow this channel to its first 100 subscribers. Your support would be appreciated, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. This story will keep you on the edge of your seat, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single chapter. Foreshadowing the unknown, the camera pans to the mansion where David would later be found, luxurious, quiet, and hiding secrets no one could imagine. His brilliance, it seemed, was only one side of a story that would soon shock an entire city. The week after the gala, David seemed to vanish. No interviews, no social media posts, no public appearances. His closest colleagues tried reaching out. Agents left messages. Friends called. Yet, the silence was deafening. The city buzzed with whispers. What happened to David Carrington? Those who knew him well began to speak, some cautiously, some with fear. His assistant mentioned long nights spent obsessing over scripts, going over scenes again and again. A cinematographer recalled moments when David's intensity was almost unbearable, yet it was paired with flashes of genuine warmth and inspiration. Friends described him as brilliant but obsessive, passionate yet unpredictable. By now, the first cracks in the public image were forming. Headlines speculated, "Is David Carrington ill? Hollywood genius or troubled mind?" And beneath the curiosity, a darker question lingered: could this strange behavior be a warning sign of something far more sinister? Have you ever seen someone's behavior suddenly change before something shocking happened? Comment below. I want to see if anyone else has noticed these early warning signs. The tension escalates as detectives, reporters, and even some of David's fans began piecing together fragments of information. The city's curiosity was turning into concern, the whispers into speculation. Something had shifted in David Carrington's world, and no one yet knew how dark the story would become. At 3:14 a.m., the silence of Beverly Hills was shattered. A neighbor, disturbed by strange noises and flickering lights coming from the Carrington mansion, called the police. Officers arrived on the scene, their training telling them to expect a typical domestic disturbance. But what they encountered would haunt them for years. The mansion was in chaos. Furniture overturned. Priceless artwork slashed. A crystal chandelier swayed precariously from the ceiling. The opulence of the home, usually so pristine, so perfect, had become a scene of utter disarray. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. This was not a simple break-in. Not even close. The first visual clues drew a collective gasp. Broken glass sparkled under the bright police lights, reflecting shadows that danced across walls as if the house itself was alive with terror. A grand piano, usually the centerpiece of the living room, had toppled over, its keys smashed. And then, in the middle of the chaos, something else, something no one could have prepared for. The camera panned slowly to David Carrington, standing silently, blooded hands gripping an object the police couldn't yet identify. His expression was calm, eerily calm. On the floor lay his assistant, motionless, eyes wide with shock. For the detectives, it was as if the room had transformed into a scene from one of David's own films, a psychological thriller come to life. But what they saw next, in the middle of the living room, would shock even the most seasoned detectives. And it would set off an investigation unlike anything Los Angeles had ever seen. The stage was set. A filmmaker, known for creating cinematic masterpieces that captivated millions, was now the center of a real-life horror story. Questions raced through the minds of everyone on the scene. What happened here? Was it premeditated? And perhaps the most chilling question of all, could someone so celebrated really commit such a crime? The first officers stepped cautiously into the Carrington mansion. Their boots echoed across the marble floors, mixing with the faint scent of expensive perfume and the metallic tang of something far more sinister. And then, in the center of the grand living room, they saw it, a scene that would forever be burned into their memory. David Carrington's assistant lay motionless on the floor. Their eyes, wide open in shock, stared up at the ceiling as if searching for an answer that didn't exist. And above them, standing unnervingly still, was David himself. In his hand, he held an object, mysterious, heavy, and slick with evidence the officers weren't ready to confront. Detectives hesitated. Was this real? Was it a scene meticulously staged? For a moment, the mansion felt like one of David's own psychological thrillers, a place where reality and fiction blurred into a single horrifying tableau. The emotional contrast was striking. Here was David Carrington, the celebrated filmmaker, whose films had touched millions, standing silently in a room filled with chaos and death. The weight of fame, brilliance, and creativity now collided violently with an unimaginable horror. His calm demeanor only amplified the officers' fear and confusion. If you're stunned already, hit that like button, and don't forget to share this with a friend who loves true crime mysteries. You won't believe what comes next. The scene left everyone questioning not just what happened, but who David truly was. Detectives quickly realized the investigation had shifted from a possible accident to a full-blown criminal case. And as the team began collecting evidence, one question haunted them: was this an impulsive act, or something chillingly premeditated? As the forensics team combed the mansion, they began to uncover layers of secrets hidden behind the opulence. On a polished desk in the corner of David's office, they found strange notes, cryptic and detailed. Words like control, truth, and final act were scrawled repeatedly. A wall calendar was meticulously marked, each date and time seemingly connected to events no one else could interpret. Detectives also learned from interviews that David had unusual habits. Long nights editing alone. Constant revisions of scripts that even seasoned producers deemed perfect. And whispers of obsessive behavior, details that hinted at a mind consumed by its own intensity. The investigation began to take a darker turn. Police started to consider the possibility that there might be more behind the scenes than anyone initially suspected. Every object in the house, every note, every marking seemed to whisper a hidden story, as if David had left breadcrumbs for someone, or perhaps for himself. What do you think these notes meant? Comment your theory below. I want to see if anyone guesses the twist before it's revealed. Behind a bookshelf in David's study, police found a wall that didn't belong. A hidden latch. A secret passageway. And what they discovered on the other side would forever change the investigation. It was a hidden studio, carefully constructed and perfectly soundproofed. Cameras lined the walls, reels of film stacked neatly on shelves, and editing equipment humming softly as if waiting to be used. But the content of those reels was far from ordinary. The footage depicted staged crimes, meticulously crafted, terrifyingly realistic, and so detailed that even experienced detectives initially believed they might be real. The mansion's calm facade had been a mask. David Carrington had been experimenting in secret, blurring the line between his art and the darkest corners of reality. But the question now gripped every officer in the room. Did David actually commit a crime, or was this all part of a twisted psychological experiment? If this surprises you, subscribe and turn on notifications. The story isn't over yet. There's more darkness ahead, and the next discoveries will make you question everything you thought you knew about David Carrington. As investigators dug deeper, the question wasn't just what happened, but why. To understand David Carrington, they turned to psychologists and behavioral experts. Their analysis revealed a man of contrasts, brilliant yet obsessive, creative yet controlling, a visionary with a dark streak that could easily slip into danger. Colleagues painted a complex picture. Some recalled nights when David stayed up until dawn, perfecting a scene, teaching crew members lessons in patience and artistry. He could inspire loyalty, charm, and awe. Yet, others described moments where his temper and manipulative tendencies surfaced, sudden outbursts, harsh criticisms, and a cold calculation in his interactions. This duality created tension not only in Hollywood but also for the viewers following the case. How could someone so adored and talented harbor a mind capable of orchestrating chaos? The mansion, the notes, the hidden studio. Everything now pointed to a man whose genius teetered dangerously close to obsession. Could someone be both a genius and dangerous? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to see who else is trying to unravel this mystery. Then came the surveillance footage. A masked figure, moving silently and deliberately, entered the Carrington mansion. Officers and viewers alike were stunned. Who was this person? How long had they been inside? And why was there no record of their entry in the guest logs? Theories swirled. Had David been framed? Was this masked figure an accomplice or a third-party intruder? Or could it be someone attempting to plant evidence, manipulating both the investigation and the public narrative? The footage left more questions than answers. Shadows moved across the walls. Footsteps echoed in empty halls. The masked intruder was careful, calculating, and vanished just as mysteriously as they appeared. Pause for a second. What would you do if you saw someone like this in your own home? Comment below your theory. Let's see who's the best detective here. The insider's revelation was explosive. Evidence suggested that the crime scene may have been tampered with, crucial items moved, footage manipulated, and notes possibly altered. Investigators were forced to reconsider everything they thought they knew. Forensics teams re-examined the mansion. Interviews were reconducted. Legal experts speculated on motives and possibilities, from premeditation to intentional framing. And the tension grew. Someone close to David may have orchestrated elements of the crime, either to protect him or to set him up. If you're trying to piece this puzzle together, like this video and share it. Your theory could be right. Comment below if you think David was set up, or if he acted alone. As the sun set over Los Angeles, investigators reviewed the evidence again. New clues had emerged, encrypted messages on David's devices, hidden footage yet to be analyzed, and questions about the masked intruder's true identity. The investigation was far from complete, and the twists were only beginning to unravel. Viewers were left with burning questions. Who was the masked figure really? What else lies hidden in the secret studio? Was David the mastermind, or just a pawn in a more sinister game? The mansion, the studio, the notes. All hinted at secrets that could change the course of the case entirely. Subscribe now to uncover the next chapter of this twisted story. Comment your theories, I'll feature the most intriguing ones in the next video. And don't forget to like and share so more people can dive into this shocking case. The truth is closer than you think, but it's far from complete.